Where's the best place for content on the world of Ice and Fire?
Right over there. See where I am pointing with my dagger? I just found
Sporking News Podcast. With me, Sporking. Make sure you like and subscribe.
I welcome everybody. I realize when we start at 7, people trickle in, so we'll take our time discussing. So if you are watching this later, just jump ahead a little bit.
But you have faith in the 7.
I have faith in the 7, but I not really. No, because there's only one true God, and
Thank you.
That is R'hllor, and one true King, and He is Lightbringer. What's up, everybody? It's Scott, a Spork of Ice and Fire, where we are going to read and review and discuss the prologue to A Game of Thrones. Last week, we were having a great breakdown of theories. I think it was just me and you, Stig. Really? Wasn't it just me? Who else was on?
Grant was there, wasn't he?
On and off, right? Didn't you have to bounce out?
No. And Trina was there
the whole time? I remember Tina.
Wow.
Okay, guys, I have problems.
I get what I wanted.
No, you're loved. Oh, no. Who changed my thing to, what did it say? Woman of the Spork?
It says Grant, not granted.
Sir Grant McGrant.
Yeah,
Gregory
don't take it
McGrant.
for granted.
Yeah, I won't take you for granted. You're my juicy brother. I love you. But we're going to discuss, we were talking with the chat last week. We had a lot of fun with the chat, and please make sure you guys, if you have questions or things you want to talk about, throw it in there. But we're going to be doing prologue and epilogue of each book, because we know that by the time we're done, The Winds of Winter will be out. I did say December 2025.
Are we doing chapter by chapter each week, are we?
No, just the prologue and the epilogue, right?
I'm pretty sure if we did chapter by chapter every single week for each book, we would still only have to wait a year until the book comes out.
I swear, wasn't George like 3/4 of the way done?
Yeah, in 2017. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, what a year! It was fun. It was a fun year. Yeah, well, we still discuss it where most channels have buried Game of Thrones and they do not want to talk about it anymore. We still talk about the books here because the more we read, the more we have found different and interesting theories and observations we've made. And tonight we will enjoy it, but we will start by introducing the lovely panel. We have the lovely Bad Takes Bojan. You can speak anytime you want.
One of the Silent Sisters.
She is a silent sister. She's doing exactly what women should do on the panel. What's up?
Hey, sorry for being late. Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a good evening, and so sorry that I'm 10 minutes late.
Yeah,
like a proper lady, she doesn't speak until spoken to.
Exactamundo.
Good takes. You've done well, sir. You have done well. We also have Sir Gregory McGrant of House Butterfly Effect.
Hello.
How are you, my friend?
Yeah, doing good. I've been going back and rereading certain chapters and trying to see if there's any sort of weird connections. It turns out that if you read each chapter of each person, you get your own unique individual story. It actually kind of changes the perspectives of everything. So
you're going by POV?
I'm going by POV. I read through Bran, and it reads like it's a completely different story. It's kind of weird.
Dude, you know what? That's another great idea. After we do the prologues and epilogues, we could just break down Game of Thrones just Bran, Game of Thrones just Jon. That would be interesting.
Because and then when looking at Bran, like reading Bran all the way through makes you think that he's not even a part of the main series.
Well, he really isn't.
Most of Bran's stuff doesn't connect to anyone else in
the story.
in the story, a lot of chapters he doesn't mention anyone else. No one mentions anything else. They don't even really mention places. It's kind of weird. So I got a weird kind of theory that everything that takes place after Clash of Kings with Bran is just in his head.
Oh, that's crazy. I always the one character in all of the books who is actually doing the hero's journey is Bran. But I think it's going to be
Stannis too.
Yeah, I guess so. He's gone through some trials. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, the belly of the beast thing is
he's
King's
still a good
Landing.
guy.
Say that again, Stig.
Yeah, the belly of the beast thing is the King's Landing.
Yeah, true. I didn't think of it that way. Is there anybody else really going through like I mean, you could almost say Dany in a way, because like Marine is where like the lotus flowers, is it the lotus flowers that they get all high on and just kind of, it's like poppies.
If you believe that she got out of the house of dying or not. So
yeah. Well, that's true. Did she ever act? Are any of them still alive? Really?
I'd love to read from Dany from beginning to end. That would be really kind of fun.
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
Yeah, I do like that. And we do have that one website we can always refer back to, the one that tracks each character in each chapter.
That's right.
In the book.
We have that.
I had forgotten about that.
The only reason I picked Bran is because the story starts off with Bran.
Mm-hmm.
The first chapter is Bran. So I'm just like, all right, I'll just keep reading just Bran.
Yeah.
Here's a little idea though. Bran's story is the one that really matters. The rest is distraction.
True. Even though his story seems like the side plot, but like who's sitting on the throne and all the different politicking and different thing that's going on, anything to do with Sansa, is a side story. But yeah, I'm more like what Jane says. It's all a dream in Bran's head.
Yeah,
and the last chapter, you wake up and it's Bran waking up from the coma after he got pushed out the window.
Oh wow!
I mean it's like Newhart.
I hate that.
I thought it was clever once.
Yeah,
once. Like Newhart did it well. Dallas, not so much.
It's clever in a like 80s sitcom style comedy show. That's where it can work.
Right.
It would be a dream of
30 Rock when they did the same sort of reveal. General Hospital when they did the same thing for that, being the whole thing an autistic kid's dream.
Wait a minute, what? In General Hospital? What?
Oh no, that was
the ending.
That wasn't General Hospital. That was the other
Doogie House.
No, the nighttime hospital show. It wasn't a soap opera.
Oh,
it had Denzel Washington in it.
Hill Street. No.
No.
I know which one. Back in the 80s.
Elsewhere.
Saint Elsewhere was all a. Wait a minute. What?
Yeah, it was all a dream and an autistic kid's thing, and it was everything that took place inside of the snow globe that the kid was holding in his mind.
So he's the giant. The kid's the giant, right? Before we go way off topic, what's up, Borderland Queen? We have the lovely Jane Theory saying, or the last scene in Bran finally dying and warging forever into his wolf. I'd be fine with that. We also have, Kirsty Angel, how are you? Morning. Oh, morning to you. It's evening where I am. And the lovely Sherry. We got it's like, is it all ladies up in the
Sherry's
house?
kid is graduating from high school today, I think.
I think it's all ladies up in the house. Where did you just say?
Sherry's kid is graduating high school today.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome. I have so much farther to go because I waited so long. Keith,
that's okay. 'Cause you'll be, by the time you get grandkids, you'll be too feeble to be responsible for doing anything. So
someone's wiping my ass.
That.
Yeah,
that's what I worked at. I'm like, because I waited a while to have kids. I'm just like, okay, so shit. When my kid's 15, I'm gonna be 50, and I'm like, yes, that's too old. I can't hang it with a 15-year-old when I'm 50.
So I like this from Keith. Bran rules 1,000 peaceful years, or it could be more like Dune, where his son right? It's his son who becomes like that emperor for 10,000 years and starts cloning Jason Momoa's character. I can't think of the name.
Johnny Idaho.
Yeah. It could be like that. Bran could rule and just keep skin changing into different people as the body dies. That'd be kind of cool. He becomes a worm. Yeah, exactly.
It's in June. Sorry.
Yeah, it's in June, dude. What do you? I was like, wait a minute. He's graduating, and
I don't know American school systems, so our graduations are happening like within the next week or two here.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm glad everybody is here. I want to say thank you to Sean.
Did I say Johnny? Duncan, Idaho?
It's Duncan, Idaho. You said Johnny.
You
were thinking of Point Break.
Yeah.
Johnny Utah.
Yeah.
I just want to quickly say thank you to Sean. I always say his last name wrong. Estep. He sent me another package. I just like brought it downstairs, so I haven't even opened it yet.
You should open it on camera in case it's explosive.
Yeah, right. Right. That'd be awesome. I better get hits on that one. Taylor Swift greater than Disney's Star Wars and MCU and Doctor Who. What up? Danny's story. And Kirsty says Danny's story comes across to me like she's in purgatory a lot of the time. That's what Grant and a bunch of us have been talking about recently, is that Danny never got out of the House of the Undying, or actually just burned in that pyre, and never came back as a human. She's a fire white.
I think that's probably the fire white. I don't think the theory about that she's still in the House of the Undying makes a lot of sense, even though we can find a lot of quote unquote evidence for it. There's just too much interaction with other characters. Bran, on the other hand, I think you can go wild with it because just the sheer amount of weird shit that happens, and two, isolation from other characters.
Right. Well, I mean, can you imagine that? Mira, either Mira or Jojen is in his head, and it's only one kid.
Okay, who else have they interacted with?
That's what I mean.
Storyline? No one.
Hodor, who can't speak, and these two random kids that showed up and then they just left.
They just showed up and happened to be who he needed to go, where exactly he needed to go.
Right, and then like a dead knight brother, brother of the Watch.
Theon hunted them, though.
Yeah, it's true. Damn it, we were getting somewhere.
And also, Sam Tarly
I can't
met
trust
them.
that Dickless Wonder.
Yeah, no, you're right. Sam meets them, going through the door, right?
Yeah. And so does Jilly. She's with them.
Yep. You're right. Okay, so that ruined that theory. See, we're not embarrassed to say we screwed up. Yeah, but what we're going to do is we're going to go through the prologue. We're going to read it. Stig will start reading it, and we'll stop every once in a while and discuss. Hopefully,
so what accent are you going to do for Royce?
I can't do accents because I apparently sound like an AI anyway.
Oh.
Boyfriend.
People keep telling me I sound like the Jarvis in the Iron Man suit.
That's funny.
But I'm actually a real person, truly.
I've heard.
I
programmed you
and
to
my
say
name
that.
is Steve.
Yeah. What's up, Bodega Outlaw, guys? Check out his channel. Great guy, smart guy, loves conspiracies. I know he does. But why don't we start reading? Does anybody want to say anything before we dive in? No, none of the big stuff. Just I didn't even have a chance to reread this past week, so this will be my first read again. But there's things we've picked up through the years, and I'm hoping we find more. Anybody else?
Yeah, I thought the guy's name was Garrett. I've been saying Garrett for like 5 years, and it's Garrett.
Garrett, yeah. Oh, you've been with the T at the end?
Yeah.
Don't worry, your accent. None of us knew.
I thought he was called
I keep wanting to call him Jared. I keep wanting to call him Jared. The whole
that makes sense.
Thing, so
no, it could be Jared. None of us know. Jane says
say Garrett.
The others probably know all the Starks. Parrothead always calling me out as the shill that I am, but I'm shilling my own shirt today, buddy. Good to see you, Parrot Head. Yeah, let's start the reading and let's just get right into the meat of it.
Hey, Parrothead.
Okay. Prologue. We should start back, Garrett urged, as the woods began to grow dark around them. The wildlings are dead. Do the dead frighten you? Sir Waymar Royce asked, with just a hint of a smile. Garrett did not rise to the bait. He was an old man past 50, and he had seen the lordlings come and go. Dead is dead, he said. We have no business with the dead. Are
Okay.
they dead? What?
Stop right there.
Yeah.
Do you think he already know, like, because you know that Benjen, later on when you're reading, you know that Benjen, you know that Mormont, they know of the White Walker. Like, there has been sightings. I mean, Benjen's ranging because I don't think he's just ranging for the Rangers to go find them. I think he has an idea that there might be more than wildlings. What do you guys think on that? Do these guys know that the whites are real, but just won't say it because they would sound crazy?
I think it's like a campfire story, because that's like when Roy says, "What do the dead frighten you?" They've probably heard stories about the dead, and because he's in charge and he's never seen anything like that, to him it's just a story.
Right.
It's just a folktale, where I believe that Garrett and everything have probably either seen them or seen the result of what they've been able to do.
Yeah, definitely Garrett, because he's like 55. Go ahead, Tina.
I would say I would agree, because Garrett is in his 50s, where Will has only been with the Night's Watch for 4 years,
right?
And the Royce he's 18-year-old kid. He only joined like 6 months ago,
right? And where I love this. Well, we'll talk about that in a bit. Go ahead though.
Oh, I'm going to continue reading.
Yeah, whenever you're ready. If you want to throw something in too, go right ahead.
No. Just need to find where I left off.
Are they dead?
Yeah. Are they dead? Royce asked. Or are they dead? Royce asked softly. What proof do we have? Will saw them, Garrett said. If he says they're dead, that's proof enough for me. Will had known they would drag him into the quarrel sooner or later. He wished it had been later rather than sooner. My mother told me that dead men sing no songs, he put in. No Song of Ice and Fire, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
My wet nurse said the same thing, Will, Royce replied. Never believe anything you hear at a woman's tit. That's true.
True.
There are things to be learned even from the dead. His voice echoed too loud in the twilit forest.
Okay. Let's stop there. I don't mean to stop us every couple seconds, but the one thing you have Roy saying, never believe anything you hear at a woman's teat. But how many stories did old Nan tell when she was actually like a wet nurse? How many tales did she talk to the babies and the little ones about? I wonder. At least she's been around for a while.
Well, yeah, she's Nettles.
Right. She could be Nettles. You never know. Or the woman from Dunkin' Egg. But there's a couple things, like you pointed that out, Stig. My mother told me that dead men sing no songs. And right there, that tells you his mother was right. Dead men aren't part of the Song of Ice and Fire, because that is what will destroy them most likely, is that pact between ice and fire.
Plus, it starts at twilight, and this prologue ends at night, when the nighttime kicks in when the White Walkers show up.
Right. So, I mean, what is that then?
A long night foreshadowing.
Yep. I like it.
Also, Twilight of the Gods is Ragnarok, so it starts at twilight.
No. Will saw them. Yeah, well, he has very good eyes, they say. Narrator, every decent dragon is corruptible after enough trauma. I would believe that. I mean, beat him into submission, I guess. All right.
I'm
Whenever you're ready. Yep.
Okay.
Yes, please.
We have a long ride before us, Garrett pointed out. 8 days, maybe 9, and night is falling. Sir Waymar Royce glanced at the sky with disinterest. It does that every day about this time. Are you unmanned by the dark, Garrett? Will could see the tightness around Garrett's mouth, the barely suppressed anger in his eyes under the thick black hood of his cloak. Garrett had spent 40 years in the Night's Watch, man and boy, and he was not accustomed to being made light of. Yet it was more than that. Under the wounded pride, Will could sense something else in the older man. He could taste it, a nervous tension that came perilously close to fear. Will shared his unease. He had been 4 years on the wall, the first time he had been sent beyond. All the old stories had come rushing back, and his bowels turned to water. He had laughed about it afterward. He was a veteran of 100 rangings by now, and the endless dark wilderness that the Southern called the Haunted Forest had no more terrors for him.
All right. So you got these two guys who have been around for a long time being mocked by a House Lordling, House Royce. For people who haven't read the books, House Royce is not one of the great houses, but they are lords. And even though the Night's Watch is supposed to be something that is, equals out every man. Once you take the black, you're all brothers. You do see that lordlings get special treatment, most likely because gifts come with them to help, fund the Night's Watch, and they need that. So this kid got a status that he never earned. And he's talking down to a guy who's been there for 40 years and another guy who's been there for how many was it again? 4 years.
4 years.
And he had laughed about it afterwards. He was a veteran of 100 rangings by now. Now, is that Will talking about himself, or is he talking about Garrett?
I think he's talking about Garrett. Though. That's how I read it.
Okay, I always wondered that one because if he's been on, please go.
No, he's talking about himself, but I think, because he mentions the old stories that come rushing back,
right?
And that's the stories of, the dead rising, the White Walkers, what have you. So he's being uneasy in the dark. He's
right.
It's almost like a fear of the dark, isn't it? You start thinking this and that story you've heard about the area might be true, and there actually might be a killer bear, whatever, right?
Yep.
So he starts thinking in those lines. In my opinion, maybe.
No, that makes sense. Jane has a couple good points. She's like, the women keeping the story going is consistent with how culture is usually passed from mother to child. And then she says, I love how so much of George's writing is descriptive rather than even dialogue. Right. Because the majority of this is what you see. He's showing us. That's why I said that the way he writes to me is a movie compared to Tolkien, where I see pictures. I don't know if
it's actually the first thing you learn in writing is show, don't tell.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
This is a perfect example of it.
Yeah.
I disagree that Will is talking about himself going on 100 ragings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's only 200 and some weeks in 4 years, and this chapter the prologue begins by saying they're 8 or 9 days away from getting back to the wall. So it means rangers arranging is more than a week's length.
Oh, right. But when he's speaking, you see that he says, Will shared his unease. He had been 4 years. So he's talking about him. I don't know. Like, is it Will? Because we hear Will before. He's like, they're going to draw me into this. But it's in the he. It's almost like we're getting it from somebody else's point of view, which he doesn't usually do. So it forces me to think it is Will telling us this story. But then we will have to see who's the last. You know what I mean?
It's actually a little bit poorly executed because the first sentence is he's basically talking about Garrett's unease,
Mm-hmm.
and then he switches to himself,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's not clear if he switches back to Garrett again or not.
Right. He talks about Garrett first, then himself, I think. Right. So is he talking when he says, okay, so all the old stories, he's talking about himself right now. All the old stories had come rushing back and his bowels had turned to water. He had laughed about it afterwards. So Will's talking about himself. He had laughed. He was a veteran of 100 rangings by now, in the endless dark wilderness that the Southerners call the Haunted Forest had no more terrors for him. Now,
Well, he's talking about
he's talking about
himself.
Oh, see, I thought when he
Yeah,
says that
because
he had laughed, meaning Garrett.
No, he's pointing out that he was scared shitless, and then he laughed about it, and then it no longer holds any terrors for him now.
Yep. I think the 100 rangings is himself. George just did get the number right. Didn't get the number right.
Because it could be a general thing to say, like, yeah, I've done it 100 times.
Right.
When
like
in
a throwaway.
You've done it 46 or something.
Right.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. All right. Let's read on and see where we get.
Until tonight, something was different tonight. There was an edge to this darkness that made his hackles rise. 9 days they had been riding, north and northwest, and then north again, farther and farther from the wall, hard on the track of a band of wildling raiders. Each day had been worse than the day that had come before. Today was the worst of all. A cold wind was blowing out of the north, and it made the trees rustle like living things. Double foreshadowing right there, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
All day, Will had felt as if something were watching him, something cold and implacable that loved him not. Garrett had felt it too. Will wanted nothing so much as to ride hellbent for the safety of the wall, but that was not a feeling to share with your commander, especially not a commander like this one.
All right. Let's just stop because you said a couple things there. A cold wind was blowing out of the north. Okay, so we're not pretending like we've never read this before. So, I mean, that's foreshadowing. The cold comes before the others. Well, actually, the others bring the cold. So that cold wind coming out of the north.
Yeah, it actually means the White Walkers are literally coming from the north right now.
Like they're upon them. They're upon them.
And the rustling of the leaves, that's how Children of the Forest talks. The Children of the Forest guiding the White Walkers there? Or are they trying to warn people?
It says it made the trees rustle like living things. Is it actually not the children, but the trees? It are the weirwoods. Like,
well, the Children of the Forest can maybe communicate through the trees.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, there's also the theory that, like when Bran goes back in time and everything, he tries to communicate with people, but when he does that, all they seem to hear is the rustling of the leaves.
Sorry, I just got very excited. Go ahead again, Grant. I'm really sorry about that. That just made me happy.
Okay, so whenever Bran has walked into the past, or however you want to say it, when he's tried to communicate with his father or anything like that, what it's been told to us is there is a rustling of leaves. That's maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's Bran.
I mean,
doing that.
Right, it could be future Bran.
Bran could be coming back to try and warn people. We don't know because we don't know what level his power is and what he can and can't actually do.
Because the story's not over.
Yeah.
No, you have a valid point. I mean, we come back. Ned's first chapter, he is washing, wiping the blade
blood off the sword at the
sword
tree,
and he hears something in the rustling, and then we come back books later, and it's Bran. So
and the ghost thing. It could be Bran trying to signal to Jon that, hey, don't forget about the ghost.
Right. All right, let's move on. This is good stuff.
Okay. Sir Waymar Royce. was the youngest son of an ancient house with too many heirs. He was a handsome youth of 18, gray-eyed and graceful and slender as a knife. Mounted on his huge black destrier, the knight towered above Will and Garrett on their smaller garrons. He wore black leather boots, black woolen pants, black moleskin gloves, and a fine supple coat of gleaming black ringmail over layers of black wool and boiled leather. Sir Waymar had been a sworn brother of the Night's Watch for less than half a year, but no one could say he had not prepared for his vocation, at least in so far as his wardrobe was concerned. His cloak was his crowning glory, sable, thick, and black, and soft as sin. Betty killed them all himself, he did, Garrett told the barracks over wine. Twisted the little heads off, our mighty warrior. They had all shared the laugh. It is hard to take orders from a man you laughed at in your cups, Will reflected as he sat shivering atop his garron. Garrett must have felt the same.
All right, let's just stop there for one quick second. This is one of the only chapters, and maybe it's just the prologues and epilogues where, and maybe I'm wrong, but like when Ned's speaking or Bran, does he actually say Bran thought, or does he say like, or does he like use it? Is he speaking him like when George writes? Does he write the POV character speaking in the third person in the
Yes,
other
he does.
chapters? Okay,
I just opened to a random Tyrion chapter, and it said the North went on forever. Tyrion Lannister knew
Okay.
the maps as well.
I think okay, so it is Will reciting this. This is
It
Will's.
is,
Yeah.
The term is third person limited.
Okay,
Yeah.
because you're seeing it from their point of view.
Yeah, only one
Oh.
point of view.
One point of view. Gotcha. This right here, Grant, this is what you were talking about before, correct? There is a chapter later on in the book, I believe when Jon is close to being or is voted in as the next commander of the Night's Watch. It's almost word for word what he's wearing. Moleskin gloves. I don't know if it says fine supple coat, but it does talk about black ringmail over layers of black wool and boiled leather. It's just interesting how we also have a gray-eyed, which Jon most likely has, because I don't remember if they actually described Jon as that, but they described Ned like that, who Jon looks like a Stark, and I believe Arya is the same, if I'm correct. It just sounds like if you already read the books, the description of this young man, Waymar Royce, is almost identical to Jon. Do you guys agree?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Just remember that. Yeah. Just remember that as we go on. If you haven't reread this, yeah, gray eyes are of the north. Amen. Kirsty says cold winds from the north are Arctic winds, and Arctic means bear, doesn't it? Cold bears, like as in the old bear. And then this is the one that I didn't understand. Okay, so his cloak was his crowning glory, sable thick and black and soft as sin. That he killed them all himself. Is he talking about what it took to make that cloak? That he killed them all himself. He did, twisted their little heads off. Our mighty warrior. Is he talking about like the animals it took to make his cloak?
No, I think he's killed kids.
You think Waymar Royce killed kids?
Yeah,
I took that as he killed a bunch of like pups. And
that's
like
what I
like
took it at.
Yeah, you know, like or cubs or something.
Or yeah, like seals, like something that I took it as that. Twisted their little
direwolf pups or something.
Yeah, some animal that cloak is made of. That's what I thought too.
Oh, I thought he was. Yeah, I took the darker path to that one.
I like it though.
Yeah.
He twisted off all those babies' heads.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I just figured that's why he's at the wall.
So,
I mean-
no wonder he's been hanging out at Craster's all this time.
Yeah, right. I mean,
It's like-
we are. I'm glad you did say that, though. We are told he's a little older than Jon, but we are told he's from an ancient house with too many heirs. So he took the black, and that is actually something that in ancient times, well, the way that House of the Dragon makes it seem like only 200 years prior, but it probably is more like 1,000 years prior. It was an honor as a third son or a fourth son to actually take the black. There was a lot of pride in that because usually, the eldest son would be the heir to whatever holdfast you have. The second son would have his own branch so that if the eldest son died, he could take over. But then down the line, they would either, join another house's, infantry or take the black. So this is something that he probably took a lot of pride in because that was the ancient ways, and the Royces follow the ancient ways, even though they are part. What are the other guys from Essos? Not the First Men, but the Andals.
Andals?
Andals. Yeah.
Well, they're definitely
Anybody
not
else?
heroic.
Oh, yep. Parrot Head said it perfectly. An heir and a spare. Unlike House of the Dragons. Love that the Starks continued to send their sons. Yeah, well, yeah, it was John's idea, though. Son, get it? He's not a son. Okay.
Wait, what are you implying?
Nothing. He is his son. Him and maybe a Dane. Anywho, okay. You just finished that. It is hard to take orders from a man you laughed at in your cups. Will reflected as he sat shivering atop his Garin. Garrett must have felt the same. Proceed, sir.
Okay. Mormont said we should track them, and we did. Garrett said, they're dead. They shan't trouble us no more. There's hard riding before us. I don't like this weather. If it snows, we could be a fortnight getting back, and the snow is the best we can hope for. Ever seen an ice storm, my lord? The lording seemed not to hear him. He studied the deepening twilight in that half-bored, half-distracted way he had. Will had ridden with the night long enough to understand that it was best not to interrupt him when he looked like that. Tell me again what you saw, Will. All the details. Leave nothing out. Will had been a hunter before he had joined the Night's Watch. Well, a poacher, in truth. Mallister freeriders had caught him red-handed in the Mallister's own woods, skinning one of the Mallister's own bucks, and it had been a choice of putting on the black or losing a hand. No one could move through the woods as silent as Will, and it had not taken the Black Brothers long to discover his talent. The camp is 2 miles farther on, over that ridge, hard beside a stream. Will said, I got close as I dared. There's 8 of them, men and women both. No children I could see. They put up a lean-to against the rock. The snow is pretty well covered. The snow's pretty well covered it now, but I could still make it out. No fire burning, but the fire pit was still plain as day. No one moving. I watched a long time. No living man ever lay so still. Did you see any blood? Well, no, Will admitted. Did you see any weapons? Some swords, a few bows. One man had an axe, heavy looking, double bladed, a cruel piece of iron. It was on the ground beside him, right by his hand. Did you make note of the position of the bodies? Will shrugged. A couple are sitting up against the rock, most of them on the ground, fallen like. Or sleeping, Royce suggested. Fallen, Will insisted. There's one woman up in Ironwood, half hid in the branches. Far eyes. He smiled thinly. I took care she never saw me. When I got closer, I saw that she wasn't moving neither. Despite himself, he shivered. Do you have a chill? Royce asked. Some, Will muttered. The wind, my lord. The young knight turned back to his grizzled man-at-arms. Frost-fallen leaves whispered past them, and Royce's destrier moved restlessly. What do you think might have killed those men, Garrett? Sir Waymar asked casually. He adjusted the drape of his long sable cloak. It was the cold, Garrett said with iron certainty. I saw men freeze last winter, and the one before, when I was half a boy. Everyone talks about snows 40 foot deep, and how the ice wind comes howling out of the north. But the real enemy is the cold. It steals up on you, quieter than will, and at first you shiver, and your teeth chatter, and you stamp your feet and dream of mulled wine and nice hot fires. It burns, it does. Nothing burns like the cold, but only for a while. Then it gets inside you and starts to fill you up. And after a while, you don't have the strength to fight it. It's easier just to sit down or go to sleep. They say you don't feel any pain toward the end. First, you go weak and drowsy, and everything starts to fade. And then it's like sinking into a sea of warm milk, peaceful like.
All right, let's stop there for a sec. Nothing burns like the cold. Fire and ice, baby.
Yeah,
That's an interesting way of saying it. Nothing burns like the cold. And I like how they keep reminding us that Will is silent. Will is you don't even hear him in the woods. But the real enemy is the cold. It steals up on you quieter than Will. So let's not forget cold, comes up on you quieter than Will. So
yeah.
again, that cold wind's coming out of the north. So they are probably already surrounded by whites or others and have no freaking clue that they are. That's
Yeah.
what I'm getting. I've never read it like that before, but I'm starting to realize they keep telling us how quiet Will is, but he is not as quiet as the cold. It can sneak up on you.
And it's also sneaking up on the Seven Kingdoms.
Right. Good way of, really good way of looking at it. It is. Jane's got a bunch of stuff I like to go over, but if anybody else has something, let me know. Okay. Jane says, leave nothing out. Tell me the whole story. And Will tells him, I got close. Did you see any blood? That's coming from someone who doesn't know what cold is. Right there, that tells you, to him, unless you see blood, people aren't dead.
Sir Waymar is actually, in the next page is making some damn good points.
Yeah, he isn't as bad of a commander as they're implying. He's just young and he's arrogant.
He actually comes off as a very good investigator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like he's deducing in the next
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just quick hi to One Man Show. Thank you for being here, my friend. Always supporting the channel. Okay, let's keep going because this is good stuff.
Okay, such eloquence, Garrett, Sir Waymar observed. I never suspected you had it in you. I've had the cold in me too, lordling. Garrett pulled back his hood, giving Sir Waymar a good long look at the stumps where his ears had been. 2 ears, 3 toes, and a little finger of my left hand. I got off light. We found my brother frozen at his watch, with a smile on his face. Sir Waymar shrugged. You ought to dress more warmly, Garrett. Garrett glared at the lordling. The scars around his earholes flushed red with anger, where Maester Aemond had cut the ears away. We'll see how warm you can dress when the winter comes. He pulled up his hood and hunched over his garrant, silent and sullen.
Real quick, once again, we're hearing from a southerner that has not seen a winter, because the majority of these younger people have only seen a spring and a summer. They haven't even, I don't even know if we're into the fall yet. I know we get to the winter. Go ahead.
This is accurate. You wouldn't believe all the shit I hear from Southerners about Norway.
Right. That's true, man. I mean, even me, I live in the Northeast, and it's it's October at night. It gets down into the 30s right now, so it's not as cold. But we get, I work outside in negative, weather. You have to dress appropriately, but sometimes, no matter what you wear, the cold gets to you.
Yeah, and once you get it in your bones, as we like to call it,
Hmm.
it's not coming out unless you have a really hot shower or basically heat yourself from the inside out with some really hot soup or something.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a fan of this southern hate. I feel it's directed at one member on the panel.
I mean, you live like in a desert, don't you? um, this is good. If the others can flash freeze people, I am not sure how mankind can win that war.
True.
I mean, they can. They.
I just told you how, Jen, you eat really hot soup.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Put your hands in your groin area. It
Yeah.
keeps you warm.
Yeah, because that's nature's pocket. It'll warm you.
Nature's pocket. That damn Lorecraft always making
Yeah.
people late. Josh Wilkins
Between the
he's
buttocks.
fantasy, between the buttocks.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
If Garrett said it was cold, Will began. Have you drawn any watches this past week, Will? Yes, my lord. There never was a week when I did not draw a dozen bloody watches. What was it? What was the man driving at? And how did you find the wall? Weeping, Will said, frowning. He saw it clear enough now that the lordling had pointed it out. They couldn't have froze, not if the wall was weeping. It wasn't cold enough. Royce nodded. Bright lad. We've had a few light frosts this past week and a quick flurry of snow now and then, but surely no cold fierce enough to kill 8 grown men. Men clad in fur and leather, let me remind you, with shelter near at hand and the means of making fire. The knight's smile was cocksure. Will let us hear. I would see these dead men for myself.
Yeah,
And
there's
then
that
there
good
was
reasoning. Like I like
Yeah.
the way in which the way in which he went around it. He didn't belittle anyone in that thing. He showed his smarts as a leader with that one. Just
Mhm.
like,
Yeah. And, the wildlings would be able to handle the cold better than most.
exactly. And like the important thing is with the ability to make fire. They
Yeah.
sat there and froze.
Yeah, no, he has. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a great point. Because in a normal weather system, he is absolutely right. Absolutely right. There was no way they could have froze.
Yeah.
Someone would have woke up and been like, "Dude, our fire went out. Like,
Yeah.
let's build it again."
He has only been there for 6 months, so
Yep.
Royce would have made a great ranger.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder, because we're getting little hints that Will and Garrett are both, it's something else, like they're feeling something else. It's not the cold, they feel that shiver up the back where they need to get out of there. Like dangers around them, but they can't pinpoint what that is. You kind of get that from the way Garrett is reacting to things. What up, Harry Acorns? I love that. Layering is key. It is. You got to layer. I hate the heat too, so I'll take the cold. Josh says, I am currently wearing a leather jacket, really not that warm. And Brian says, I hear you, Jane. I love the heat until I had heat stroke 3 years in a row. Now the heat gets me awful. Yeah, I can't stand the heat, dude. I sweat at 40 degrees.
I'm the same way. I'm not used to it.
Yeah, and Tina, I mean, you're in the windy area.
Oh,
It gets
yeah.
cold.
It's crazy, but then I do have to admit, I mean, I have walked through downtown Chicago with the horrendous winds at below zero, but I will take that any day than 110 degrees with
Mhm.
high humidity that we can get in the summer. So
Right. Because you know what? No matter how many times I have tried, in the winter you could bundle up, layer, like Harry said, but in the summer people frown upon you wearing just a loincloth. They really get mad at you. It's like, look, how do you expect me to work in this, boss? And it's like, whatever. Jerks. Make you freaking go home. I am totally not wearing leather chaps. Zax, I know what you're trying to say, and I know you are. Stig would pass out in the American South. It is hot.
Yeah, definitely.
Lisa says, and good to see you, Lisa. Can only get so naked. Truth. Yeah. Anything else, guys, or do you want to just keep going on this one?
I visited Louisiana in August, and I'm surprised that I came back weighing the same as I did, because I swear I sweat 50 pounds while I was there.
I love how everyone Stig would melt over 50.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure how high that is because I use Celsius, but 35 degrees.
Because you're smart.
35 degrees Celsius. We have that a few times, and it's torture.
And I'm
Yeah, it's
30
not fun.
stones.
Well, we hit 40 last summer here. We hit 41. Was 41 Celsius, which was fucking killer.
How much difference is it? Like 60 degrees?
Okay, well that's 106 nearly. Just
Okay,
short
so
of 106.
50 is 10 degrees Celsius. I don't know. I thought it was like 60 something degrees difference, but I'm not a mathematician. Does that make sense? No. Okay. Let us read on.
Okay. And then there was nothing to be done for it. The order had been given, and honor bound them to obey. Will went in front, his shaggy little Garen picking the way carefully through the undergrowth. A light snow had fallen the night before, and there were stones and roots and hidden sinks lying just under its crust. That's actually how you break your legs in the winter, to be fair.
100%.
Yeah. Waiting for the careless and the unwary. Sir Waymar Royce came next, his great black destrier snorting impatiently. The warhorse was the wrong mount for ranging, but try and tell that to the lordling. Garrett brought up the rear. The old man at arms muttered to himself as he rode. Twilight deepened. The cloudless sky turned a deep purple, the color of an old bruise, then faded to black. The stars began to come out. A half moon rose. Will was grateful for the light. We can make a better pace than this, surely, Royce said when the moon was full risen. Not with this horse, Will said. Fear had made him insolent. Perhaps my lord would care to take the lead. Sir Waymar Royce did not deign to reply. Somewhere off in the wood, a wolf howled.
Oh, I never noticed that one. Do you think it's the mother?
Oh, good call.
I mean,
The
Will
mother?
gets through the wall. Will gets through. Oh, well, yeah. Spoilers. Will gets through the wall. Maybe the mother dire wolf followed him.
Oh, that's yeah, interesting.
You never like. She might be watching them because there's something about. Okay, so all those dire wolves are sent. They're magical. They were sent. 2 girls, 3 boys, or 4 boys. Who's to say that wolf could be the mother, and somebody either is looking through its eyes, maybe trying to warn them, maybe just letting them know they're there. I don't know. It just popped in my head. It's probably not accurate, but there's no proof. But
it also howls right as the moon comes up.
Right.
Yeah, maybe, as I said
like
before,
warning
maybe it's Bran. Maybe Bran tried to warn them with the trees. That didn't work, so he tries his next best thing.
Oh yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
it could be. That truth. I didn't think of that either. I just never noticed the wolf howl before when I read this, and it just popped into my head. Like, everything about this story except for dragons. Anything that has to do with the North is in this prologue. You find out so much, you know? And I love that he's a knight. They keep saying he's a knight because the North does not have knights. Maybe no, I don't think any of the houses have knights. I was thinking maybe the shipping ones with the Wolf's Den.
Manderley?
Yeah, maybe the Manderleys have knights because they come from the south. But other than that, there are no knights
There are
from
no
the
knights.
north.
Manleys have no knights.
Okay. All right. I didn't know that. Thank you. Alyssa. Alison Rivers is there too. The owl hoots. All right. I'm sorry. Let's go on. Where were we? I'm sorry for stopping us on that.
The
one.
wolf thing.
Okay, yeah. Somewhere off in the wood, a wolf howled.
Yep. Will pulled his Garen over beneath an ancient gnarled ironwood and dismounted. Why are you stopping? Sir Waymore asked. Best go the rest of the way on foot, my lord. It's just over that ridge. Royce paused a moment, staring off into the distance, his face reflective. A cold wind whispered through the trees.
Mm.
His sable cloak stirred behind like something half alive. There's something wrong here, Garrett muttered. The young knight gave him a disdainful smile. Is there? Can't you feel it? Garrett asked. Listen to the darkness. Will could feel it. 4 years in the night's watch, and he had never been so afraid. What was it? Wind, trees rustling, a wolf. Which sound is it that unmans you so, Garrett? When Garrett did not
Just
answer.
All of them.
All of them right there. Wind.
Yeah.
That's the the others. Trees rustling. That's the children of the forest and the weirwoods. And a wolf. That's the Starks. I mean, it's all just right there.
Or Morgan.
Or it's Bran.
Yeah. Or, well, I don't know about the wind, but trees rustling and wolf could be, yeah.
Bran's a very windy child. Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. But that was it. I never noticed that either. Wind, trees rustling, a wolf. 3 different sentences. Boom.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like he says, which one of these? And then that's the problem because he's thinking individualistically.
But it's all of them.
It's
Right.
all, yeah. You know, rain doesn't bother me normally, but if it's windy and thundering and
Yeah.
like tornadoes, yeah, then I'm a little bit worried. Individually, each of those doesn't bother me, but if I'm outside and all 3 of those are happening, yeah, that's a problem.
And also
Royce noticed all 3 because he lists the examples, so he's noticing it too, all of them.
Right. He is noticing them. He just doesn't take that as anything because he is from the South and these guys are just being superstitious or something, like he's trying to prove that, like be more of a man. Like all you guys want to do is go back to Castle Black, but this is our job. He's not listening to the veterans.
Once again, it proves one thing. If he was just around a little bit longer, he would have made a great ranger.
Mhm.
He's clearly picked up on all these 3 of these things, sort of things, straight off the bat. Like
Mhm.
it wasn't like he's someone that's just going in there and didn't hear anything, and it's like, didn't you hear the wind? It's like it's wind. He knew exactly what it was that was frightening him.
Right. Josh Wilkins says, and I don't know if he meant baked, but anyone else came across this stream on accident? And if you did, subscribe. Thank you for being here. We do this every Tuesday night for the near future and maybe go back to Monday soon. But we're going to be doing the prologue and epilogue of each book. And then we're going to probably go back and do each character through every book that's released right now. And then the next character, we got years before the next book comes out. Why not?
Also, it wasn't an accident that you come across it. We actually got Bran to warg,
Yes.
but we haven't got him to do it yet. It's when the book comes out, just so you
Yes.
can get this thing here, because this part here is actually going to be important for when the book comes out in 3 years' time.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Weirwood net, the Worldwide net. He's in everything.
Yeah,
Ooh.
the mycelial network.
All right. So wind, tree rustling, a wolf. Which sound is it that unmans you so, Garrett?
When Garrett did not answer, Royce slid gracefully from his saddle. He tied the destrier securely to a low-hanging limb, well away from the other horses, and drew his longsword from its sheath. Jewels glittered in its hilt,
Mm,
and the moonlight ran down the shining steel. It was a splendid weapon, castle forged, and new made from the look of it. Will doubted it had ever been swung in anger. The trees press close here, Will warned. That sword will tangle you up, my lord. Better a knife. If I need instruction, I will ask for it, the young lord said. Garrett, stay here, guard the horses. Garrett dismounted. We need a fire. I'll see to it. How big a fool are you, old man? If there are enemies in this wood, a fire is the last thing we want. There's some enemies a fire will keep away, Garrett said. Bears and
mm.
dire wolves and other things.
Right there.
Oh
Right there.
yeah,
I mean, Garrett knows this is not natural. Something unnatural is happening in the woods right now. Because yes, the wall might have been weeping, but that cold wind, it just he feels, his 40 years has warned him that this is not a normal occurrence.
yeah.
I just love
Well,
George's writing, man.
from his perspective, what would be the other things that he knows are afraid of fire?
Right.
Oh, it would be the others.
Well, that's what he says. And other, even though it's a lowercase, other things. I mean, he says it right there. I would have loved if George just put a capital O on that. That would have been awesome. But like he just doesn't want to say it out loud because no one has probably set eyes on. They've probably been hearing whispers because they have been coming down. This, this isn't the first occurrence. They've been hearing whispers. You kind of get that from other pieces when they're up at the wall. But no one wants to say it out loud because once you do, you're either the crazy one or you have definitely solidified that these things are back after 10,000 years or so.
Yeah. The worst thing you can do is be right. And I think that's what they're more afraid of than anything. Because I think this it doesn't actually prove it. But I think this is the biggest amount of evidence that we've got that he has come into contact with the others.
Right.
Or at least he set a fire off and they've backed away.
Yep. Happy birthday, Josh. This one's for you.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Awesome.
I thought it would do more. Okay. But thank you for subbing, man. I appreciate that and enjoy whatever brownie or pipe you got going. And Lisa wanted to wish you a happy birthday too. Everybody, happy birthday, Josh. All right, let's go.
Sir Waymar's mouth became a hard line. No fire. Garrett's hood shadowed his face, but Will could see the hard glitter in his eyes as he stared at the knight. For a moment he was afraid the older man would go for his sword. It was a short, ugly thing, its grip discolored by sweat, its edge nicked from hard use. But Will would not have given an iron bob for the lordling's life if Garrett pulled it from its scabbard. Finally, Garrett looked down. No fire, he muttered, low under his breath. Royce took it for acquiescence and turned away. Lead on, he said to Will. Will threaded their way through a thicket and then started up the slope to the low ridge where he had found his vantage point under a sentinel tree. Under the thin crust of snow, the ground was damp and muddy, slick footing, with rocks and hidden roots to trip you up. Will made no sound as he climbed. Behind him, he heard the soft metallic slither of the lordling's ringmail, the rustle of leaves, and muttered curses as reaching branches grabbed at his long sword and tugged on his splendid sable cloak. It's almost like the trees are trying to prevent him, right?
Yeah, or the trees, like the trees are the truth. Your cloak, your sword, you are not made for the north. Like you are not wearing the appropriate stuff. No matter what anybody else told you, you're not listening. So they're either trying to prevent him with the rustling of leaves, but it's also telling him you don't belong here. I mean, that's what I get from it.
No, I think that's cool.
If only there was like a big wall to keep him out or something.
Yeah, like that's dumb. No one would build a big wall. All right.
Yeah, and make them pay for it.
You make Dorn pay for it. Okay. Let's see.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. The Great Sentinel was right there at the top of the ridge where Will had known it would be. Its lowest branches a bare foot off the ground. Will slid in underneath, flat on his belly in the snow and the mud. The fact that there's mud means it's not that cold.
Right.
And looked down on the empty clearing below.
Or it hasn't been that cold that long.
Yeah. His heart stopped in his chest. For a moment he dared not breathe. Moonlight shone down on the clearing, the ashes of the fire pit, and the snow-covered lean-to. The great rock, the little half-frozen stream. Everything was just as it had been a few hours ago. They were all they were gone. All the bodies were gone. Gods, he heard him. He heard behind him. A sword slashed at a branch as Sir Waymar Royce gained the ridge. He stood there beside the sentinel, long sword in hand, his cloak billowing behind him as the wind came up, outlined nobly against the stars for all to see. So wind and no clouds, eh?
Yeah, right. Just a bright sky with a wind ripping through. But he keeps letting you know, like half frozen stream, the footing, the mud. Like George is telling you that.
He's letting you know it's not that cold.
Right. Royce was correct. I mean, at least in that, Royce was correct that it wasn't that cold, but that doesn't mean the cold wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like, because snow keeps the ground warm.
The cold is increasing right now.
Yes. Make the Tyrells pay. I like that. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's getting right. You're absolutely right. That cold wind we read about earlier, but I mean, if they froze to death, it had to already be there. They're just feeling it because they've gotten close enough. Maybe.
I don't think they froze to death. I think they got killed.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I don't think they froze to death. I think that they were killed.
Yeah, because wasn't one of the guys' hands removed?
Yeah, and they said that woman had half her face or half her head.
I don't remember them saying that yet. What I do remember is though what type of sword the others use would probably freeze whatever it stabs. So if they were killed, no blood would have come out. But I don't remember them saying anything about a hand or a face yet.
No, blood does come out. But yeah.
We'll see. Yeah.
Because it literally happens later on.
Oh, that's right.
Anyway, get down, Will whispered urgently. Something's wrong. Royce did not move. He looked down at the empty clearing and laughed. Your dead man seemed to have moved camp, Will. Will's voice abandoned him. He groped for words that did not come. It was not possible. His eyes swept back and forth over the abandoned campsite, stopped on the axe. A huge double-bladed battle axe, still lying where he had seen it last, untouched, a valuable weapon. On your feet, Will, Sir Waymar commanded. There's no one here. I won't have you hiding under a bush. Reluctantly, Will obeyed. Sir Waymar looked him over with open disapproval. I'm not going back to Castle Black a failure on my first ranging. We will find these men. He glanced around. Up the tree. Be quick about it. Look for a fire. Will turned away wordlessly. There was no use to argue. The wind was moving. It cut right through him. He went to the tree, a vaulting gray-green sentinel, and began to climb. Soon his hands were sticky with sap, and he was lost among the needles. Fear filled his guts like a meal he could not digest. He whispered a prayer to the nameless gods of the woods and slipped his dirk free of its sheath. He put it between his teeth to keep both hands free for climbing. The taste of cold iron in his mouth gave him comfort. Down below, the lordling called out
Oh,
suddenly.
sorry, I'll just pause there. Once again, he's going out of his way to show it's not that cold yet.
Yeah, but the wind is cold.
But the
Yeah.
wind,
That's the only thing he
yeah,
keeps telling us.
yeah. So it's just like, anyone who's ever put their wet mouth on a bit of metal,
Mhm.
when it's freezing, you know how much of a mistake that is, and
Oh,
also
God,
the
yeah.
fact that the sap on the trees is still sticky and not hard.
Right. Good point.
Yeah, plus he says the wind cut right through him. That's
Yep.
like chill to the bones. So
Yep.
something really cold is approaching,
Mhm.
and it's getting closer because it didn't cut right through the bone earlier.
Mm. Hold on. No, I'm reading ahead, but anyone else bothered by the fact that Dawn was shit on in the show? Oh, bro, you found the right channel. That's all I'm going to tell you. You found the right channel. We could talk about that later. All right. So, yeah,
Down
we can
below,
keep
yeah,
going.
down below. Down below, the lordling called out suddenly. Who goes there? Will heard certainty in the challenge. He stopped climbing. He listened. He watched. The woods gave answer. The rustle of leaves, the icy rush of the stream, a distant hoot of a snow owl
There's Rivers.
made no
Yeah, there
sound.
she is. God, she's fucking everywhere, isn't she?
Yep. Yep. And there we get the capital O. The others made no sound.
Will saw movement from the corner of his eye, pale shapes gliding through the wood. He turned his head, a glimpse of white shadow in the darkness. Then it was gone. Branches stirred gently in the wind, scratching at one another with wooden fingers. Will opened his mouth to call down a warning, and the words seemed to freeze in his throat. Perhaps he was wrong. Perhaps it had only been a bird, a reflection on the snow, some trick of the moonlight. What had he seen after all? Will, where are
Or
you?
maybe someone stopped him from making a noise.
Mm,
I think it's just fear.
yeah. Fear and uncertainty.
Yeah, Will, where are you? Sir Waymar called up. Can you see anything? He was turning in a slow circle, suddenly wary, his sword in hand. He must have felt them, as Will felt them. There was nothing to see. Answer me. Why is it so cold?
Boom.
It was cold. Shivering, Will clung more tightly to his perch, his face pressed hard against the trunk of the sentinel. He could feel the sweet, sticky sap on his cheek.
All right. Time out real quick. A sentinel is not a type of tree. It's just a very tall tree.
Yeah,
Okay. So he could be up a weirwood for what we know because they're talking about
no,
the sap.
it's iron. It's ironwood.
Oh, he climbed an ironwood. I know they
Yeah,
talked about
well,
ironwood earlier. Okay.
it's needles in it.
Oh, yeah. What am I thinking? I'm sorry. Yep.
We would have leaves.
Yep. Yep. That was dumb. Okay.
A shadow emerged from the dark of the wood. It stood in front of Royce. Tall it was, and gaunt, and hard as old bones, with flesh pale as milk. Its armor seemed to change color as it moved. Here it was white as new fallen snow, there black as shadow. Everything dappled with the deep gray green of the trees. The pattern ran like moonlight on water, with every step it took
Hmm.
to
You
camouflage.
feel, let me, yeah, they're naturally camouflaged in the dark. Um, Off topic, do you believe that they got it right in the show the way the others look? How we're
No.
explaining no,
No,
because they're
that
actually wearing like armor in the. Remember, like it was like they were wearing like the Night King or whatever he was wearing armor in the show, wasn't he?
yeah, it was just old armor. It wasn't like the
Yeah.
in the books. But
Okay.
George Martin said that the White Walkers are more like elves.
Like frozen elves, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so sentinels are a type of evergreen tree in Westeros. Thank you, buddy. I didn't know that.
Sentinel in real life is a type of sequoia.
Okay. Okay, we're learning stuff. Tall it was,
Sequoia,
and
yeah.
gaunt and hard as
He's my
old bone.
favorite Spanish singer. I like Sequoia.
God rest her soul. All right.
Will heard the breath go out of Sir Waymar's voice in a long hiss. Come no farther, the lordling warned. His voice cracked like a boy's. He threw the long sable cloak back over his shoulders to free his arms for battle, and took his sword in both hands. The wind had stopped. It was very cold. See, because they're there.
So the wind is ahead of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other slid forward on silent feet. In its hand was a long sword like none Will had ever seen. No human metal had gone into the forging of that blade. It was alive with moonlight, translucent, a shard of crystal so thin that it seemed almost to vanish when seen edge on. There was a faint blue shimmer to the thing. Make a note of that, by the way.
Yeah.
A ghost light that played around its edges, and somehow Will knew it was sharper than any razor. So,
Isn't dawn like a faint bluish white?
no, it's well, the bluish glow is the opposite of the
Of her allure?
of the
Of
Valyrian
of
stuff, and
Lightbringer.
yeah, and also obsidian.
Mm,
It's like the, no pun intended, the polar opposite.
right. I got to look at the description of dawn again though, because it is like a pale colored sword. I know that. All right. Sorry.
Yeah, I
So-
remember the word milk being used
Right. It's either like a
in
really
association with it.
white or
Mhm.
yeah. Okay. All right.
Sir Waymar met him bravely. Dance with me then. He lifted his sword high over his head, defiant. His hands trembled from the weight of it, or perhaps from the cold. Yet in that moment, Will thought, he was a boy no longer, but a man of the Night's Watch.
I love that.
He's
Paragraph.
actually the only
That got
one
me
with, only one with balls.
right. When I first read that, I was like, you know what? Him just saying that he was a boy no longer, but a man of the Night's Watch. And when he says, dance with me, like that's something a kid would say, just scared. And he's just like, all right, motherfucker, dance with me.
Yeah.
I love that line right there. Like that in that moment, he became a man of the Night's Watch. That's an awesome line. Dawn is a great sword. Its blade is pale as milk glass, unlike dark Valyrian steel, but it's similar in strength and sharpness. So it's pale like milk glass. And then we get crystal, like a shard of crystal. So it really has no color. So depending on what it's reflecting, it could be as a milk glass like the snow. So that's interesting.
It's like a thin slice of ice almost.
Mm-hmm. This is an important one right here, people. So make sure you read it, guys. All right.
Yeah. The other halted. Will saw its eyes, blue, deeper and bluer than any human eyes, blue that burned like ice. They fixed on the long sword, trembling on high, watched the moonlight running cold along the metal. For a heartbeat, he dared to hope. They emerged silently from the shadows, twins to the first. 3 of them, 4, 5. Sir Waymar may have felt the cold that came with them, but he never saw them, never heard them. Will had to call out. It was his duty, and his death if he did. He shivered and hugged the tree and kept the silence.
He was
tree
a
hugger.
bitch. He was a bitch.
Tree hugger.
What is it? Tree hugger. Yeah, a true tree hugger.
Yeah.
Not a man. Waymar Royce was a man of the Night's Watch. Will was a biatch.
Well, I mean, he stuck to what it was known as. He stayed as silent as anything. They made a point of saying he's very good at
Right.
being quiet. And
Very true.
obviously, that was his training and everything that he did. So he stayed true to his character.
Still, yeah, a coward though. Truthfully, you're in that moment. You don't even really like the guy. You admire him at that one moment, but the truth is, am I going to die for this dude? Because no way we're beating these ice things. No way we're beating these mythical creatures that I only knew as stories as a child are alive right now, and there's like 5 or 6 of them. Screw
Yeah, but
that.
I mean, he wasn't described as a big burly strong warrior or anything. He had zero chance to do anything in that thing. He did need to do to survive to get a message out to other people.
Yep, and I like Josh. It bothers me the show ignored that sword. Which sword are you talking about, Dawn?
Dawn.
Because Waymore's sword to me is one of the most important swords of the whole book series. It tells you everything. And
Cat's Day. Oh, that's the best one ever.
I'm going to say the first super chat of the night. Thank you very much. And it's actually a super sticker. The lovely friend of the channel and a panelist on our show, Miss Martin Muses, for 99 cents. And I don't know what the sticker looks like, but
it's a rose, of course.
Oh, of course. Why I'm an idiot. That was stupid. So stupid, Scott. Thank you very much, as always. And please check out Miss Martin Muses' channel. Her link is in the description, as I believe everybody else's is. But thank you for being here. Sword of the Morning was an earned title, had a real one to even touch it. Yeah, no, what could he do? I understand that. I mean, he wasn't going to die for this guy who minutes before we were making fun of them for being nervous about feeling something. I wonder if Royce thought about that. Shit, I should have listened to them dance with me, you know? I always wonder that. Someone had to live to tell the tale. All right. Okay. Thank you. And Josh says, Martin, you awesome. She is. Oh, it's also Josh's birthday. Josh Wilkins, new channel member or subscriber. It's my sis's birthday. We're watching a serial killer documentary, and you still were nice enough to come here.
Well,
Thank
there you go. So if anyone wanted to know, yes, that confirms she is a white woman.
Thank you so much for stopping by, and happy birthday to your sis. So 4 or 5, and he's about to die. The pale sword came shivering through the air.
Yeah, the pale sword came shivering through the air. Sir Waymar met it with steel. When the blades met, there was no ring of metal on metal, only a high, thin sound at the edge of hearing, like an animal screaming in pain. Royce checked a second blow and then a third, then fell back a step, another flurry of blows, and he fell back again. Behind him, to right, to left, all around him, the watchers stood patient, faceless, silent, the shifting patterns of their delicate armor making them all but invisible in the wood. Yet they had made no move to interfere.
Real quick, I'm sorry, just real quick. You got to give Waymore Royce a big like props, because in that dark, how the hell can you see that blade and be able to parry it? Like, just the idea that he was able to do that is crazy.
Well, it's moonlit and all that, so you can actually see quite
it,
well.
or was he attacking it?
Because it said when the blades it says it right here. Royce checked a second, so you're checking, so you're just blocking. You're checking.
Yeah,
that's what that means. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Checked. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. Plus, during winter, right? When the stars and moon is up, it just looks like a twilight.
Yeah.
So you could actually see quite well.
Mm-hmm.
Did they mention anything about cloud cover or anything coming in? Because I know
I think they said it was. Oh, right.
Later on, whenever they're approaching the weather seems to change, but it doesn't mention anything here about it.
No, because he just said, I mean, even with the cold wind coming in, the moonlight was still there. There was no. Yeah, that's.
I'm wondering.
I
never wondering why that's the case. Yeah.
And then the other times we see it in the book, clouds are coming, right? Snow is actually
ahead
of them.
That's because winter itself is getting closer.
So they're getting stronger and bringing it
No,
with them.
no, it's just simply that winter is also happening, so it is colder naturally,
Mm-hmm.
which is probably why they're moving further south
Right.
because it's cold enough for them to move further south.
Right. Right. No, that makes sense.
Because if they can cause winter, then they
They
can
would have
cause
came.
winter. They can do it at any time.
Right. Right. So okay. So as winter strengthens,
So do
what
they.
comes along with them strengthens.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I swear we've had parts where it says that all of a sudden the cloud covers come over and then they approached, like they were causing
Yeah.
change.
Like when they were on the Fist of the First Men. I
Yeah,
thought maybe they said something about that, but I can't remember, man. I
Oh,
feel like I've read it.
it was snowing like crazy, but I think that also just simply just helped the White Walkers. It's a good
Yeah.
opportunity.
okay.
I always assumed they brought it. This is the first time I noticed that it wasn't in this chapter, because the other
Well,
chapters it seems like it comes with them.
look look at in this chapter, it's the wind uh, precedes the White Walkers,
Mm-hmm.
right? That they're basically chilling the area they're walking in. But
Right.
Stannis is in a big snowstorm hurricane, and the White Walkers have nothing to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I'm not saying every time there is a thing it happens. I'm just saying I thought they made a point of saying that they can change the weather, or they have changed the weather.
Right. Well, because there's a saying, isn't there a part where it was like, um, I thought there was something maybe old Nan or somebody said like, do the others bring the cold, or does the cold, bring the others type thing? Like,
No,
is it
it's when it gets really cold and stuff. That's when the others appear.
appear? Okay.
So when you have like a really long winter, like they're about to have,
Mm-hmm.
that's when they show up because it gets
Right.
cold enough for long enough for them to go south. Because
But they
they've been
do,
hibernating during summer, right?
right. But they do bring the wind, because every time they talk
Yeah,
about 'em, there's a talk about the cold
it's
wind.
it's like they have like an aura
Mm-hmm.
around them that chills the immediate area as they're
Right.
approaching.
Right. And then also, I mean, I always thought it was cool how he talked about the sound it makes, like an animal screaming in pain when it hits the metal. But Will, like in the next, coming up, his reaction to that sound, it must be a terrible sound that I would always think it would sound like, I don't know, what you're rubbing a crystal like wine glass, like, but it's more like screaming in pain when their glass or crystal swords hit the metal, when their ice hits the metal. It's interesting that it screams in pain like an animal. Just
Yeah.
something I didn't notice before.
Uh,
Um,
shall I continue?
yes, please. Thank you.
Again and again the swords met, until Will wanted to cover his ears against the strange, anguished keening of their clash. Sir Waymar was panting from the effort now, his breath steaming in the moonlight. His blade was white with frost. The others, well, he's talking about the sword, danced
Mhm.
with a pale blue light. Then Royce's parry came a beat too late. The pale sword bit through the ringmail beneath his arm. The young lord cried out in pain. Blood welled between the rings. It steamed in the cold, and the droplets seemed
Okay.
red as fire where they touched the snow.
Okay.
Sir Waymar's fingers brushed his side. His moleskin glove came away soaked with red. The other said something in a language that Will did not know. His voice was like the cracking of ice on a winter lake, and the words were mocking.
I love how he knew it was mocking.
It's maybe he notices
The
the ass. It's not the right blood. You don't have king's blood or something like
Yeah.
that.
Well, yeah. I think also, good point. I never thought of that. because
or
it didn't.
or is it just, oh, did I hurt you?
Well, that too, but it also it doesn't say anything until he actually cuts him. But right before that, it says his blade was white with frost, and I
Yeah.
wonder,
So
they're
contact with it will eventually freeze you, not
right,
one touch and you're completely frozen. It's like the
right.
more it touches, the more
Oh no, but
frost.
yeah, absolutely. But what I meant by that was the others didn't start to mock him until he got cut.
Yeah.
So it might be King's blood, or the blade was white with frost, which I would think Lightbringer would not get white with frost. I don't think Valerian steel will probably get white with frost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like maybe that was the thing that told them this isn't what we're looking for.
Yeah. Or is it, you should have brought a better sword or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the words were mocking. Like Will didn't know what that ice cracking sound, vocabulary meant, but he knew it was a mocking tone, which is
Yeah.
kind of weird.
Yeah. Sir Waymar Royce found his fury. Poor Robert, he shouted, and he came up snarling, lifting the frost-covered long sword with both hands and swinging it around in a flat sidearm slash with all his weight behind it. The other's parry was almost lazy. See, he's not being careful anymore because he knows the sword is shit.
Right. Right.
When the blades touched, the steel shattered. A scream
Mhm.
echoed through the forest night, and the longsword shivered into 100 brittle pieces. The shards scattering like a rain of needles. Royce went to his knees, shrieking, and covered his eyes. Blood welled between his fingers. The watchers moved forward together, as if some signal had been given. Swords rose and fell, all in a deathly silence. It was cold butchery. The pale blade sliced through ring mail as if it were silk. Will closed his eyes. Far beneath him, he heard their voices and laughter sharp as icicles.
Mm. All right. So, the steel shattered. Royce went to his knees right after that.
Yeah,
Covered,
it
freaking and covered his eyes.
the frost
Mm.
touch basically weakens the blade more and more per
Yep.
parry.
Yep.
So you can only fend them off for so long until your sword breaks.
Right, but also the brittle pieces shattered like rains of needles. It got in his eyes. Royce went to his knees, shrieking and covering his eyes. Blood welled between his fingers, so he was blinded by that shattering. And
Yep.
that's
Basically,
crazy.
what it reminds me of, the sword shattering like that,
Mhm.
is Terminator 2, liquid
Okay.
nitrogen, on the Terminator, and he
Yeah.
burst into pieces.
Yeah, there's another. Is it in Game of Thrones or something else where you see a sword just shatter? I forget what that movie was or show. But yeah, and the Watchers move forward together as if some signal had been given. The signal was that sword wasn't the sword. Like that was the first thing they noticed was his sword,
Yeah.
and
Well, it's
that
basically
gave them.
saying it's safe to move now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's not
They're aware that they're no longer in danger.
right.
Better for one to fall than all of them. Because remember,
Right.
in the book, unlike like the TV series, there isn't a Night King leader that's walking around with them.
Right. There's no the Night's King is something completely different in the books compared to a group of the others. No one knows if they have a leader. So you're right. They send one.
This could be initiation, and that's why they're laughing afterwards. It's like, yeah, you did it, kid. Welcome to the team.
It really could be. It could be. Or
But
that's
plus,
true. Or it
Also,
could
the
just
fact
be
that they're laughing, it automatically
Mhm.
shows how different they are to the TV show version.
Right.
Mhm.
plus when I noticed that the sword was getting frosty, the White Walker didn't barely even cared when he blocked because he did it lazily. It's
Mhm.
because the sword couldn't harm him anyway.
Right, Jane. Thank you. It was in the show. John's sword shattered theirs at that village that he doesn't go to in the book.
Hardhome,
Hardhome. Thank you.
which isn't even a fucking village.
Right. Right. They were toying with him. I don't know if they were toying with him at the beginning. I think his look and having a sword, they are weary probably of a Stark in Winterfell. That is where Winterfell, so a Stark must have either made a deal with them or defeated them. And that's why the boy, this Royce, who is of the first men, I believe, and maybe they look first men at least.
Oh,
They're weary of that.
I had an idea, right? If they know that someone that looks like Jon Snow is going to show up with a Valyrian sword, right? If they have some kind of information about that,
Mm.
because
Wait a minute, say that again?
What?
Say it again. I missed the first part. I'm sorry.
Well, if they know somehow that there's going to be a Jon Snow look-alike-ish person, right, with a Valyrian sword,
Mm-hmm.
and they're looking for the sword,
Mm-hmm.
they now know that if it's not there on this guy, it's at Castle Black. And what do they do next?
Right. Very good point, man. That is a really good point. You put this to us a couple weeks ago that when Mormont, for everybody else, please you tell it because it was your catch.
Well, basically, when the whites get through the wall, right,
Mm-hmm.
which shouldn't be possible according to the show, big plot hole in the show, but
Mm-hmm.
when they attack the Lord Commander, and I think they also attack the armory.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah,
believe so. Yeah.
yeah. So they're looking for a weapon,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
the Longclaw is in Lord Commander Mormont's bedroom. They're not there to attack him. He just happens to be there. They're looking for the sword.
Yep. The only sword that could probably kill them. Now,
Yeah.
we don't know yet if Valyrian steel can kill another. We just know that
It's a
Lightbringer.
very safe bet.
Correct. I mean, it's made with dragonfly fire and probably blood magic. But yeah, no, what I'm saying is it's not even Jon they're looking for. It's just the point that Jon looks almost exactly like Royce. It's that Royce looks like a first man, and they are weary of the Stark looking first men and a Azor Ahai type, not Azor Ahai, but the sword that last hero or someone carried that ended the conflict. So that's why they sent, I think you're right when you said it before, they sent one because it's better that one dies and they could retreat than they all go at him and the sword cuts through them like butter. It's interesting because Royce, I mean, you read it. He hung on way longer than he should have. So
also the White Walkers,
mm-hmm.
There's not many of them, which is why they keep raising an army of the dead.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So it's like the children of the forest. There's a limited amount.
Right. And Jane says,
yeah,
because they can't reproduce. And the way they get them is by Craster. Really, that's the one way we know. Either a sacrifice or they're creating it. You're right. Jane says a funny point, like maybe their stories are passed down, like their scary stories is about the Starks or somebody. Josh says he thinks it's Dawn. It really could be Dawn. What's the smartest thing to do with the sword that ended winter is put it as far south as possible so they can't get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Or your knowledge, like, okay, they're here, we have the sword. But it could also be kind of a red herring that Dawn is the weapon, so like I'm kind of
pondering
on
here's
that one.
The thing though, what defeats a knight? It's Dawn.
Right. Oh yeah, true, definitely. I mean, it lines up poetically. Dawn is some type of metal that is as strong as Valyrian steel, said to come from a meteorite, but like, is that story true? Is it a meteorite that they followed the star to, or is it some metal they found that was as strong as Valyrian steel that was used 10,000 years ago? I don't know how long the Danes have had it, but Dawn. It sounds like it should be the right one. Yes, the hair of the first men.
Also, the sword of the morning. Morning defeats night. Dawn
Mhm.
defeats night as
Yeah.
well.
I mean, it's poetic and it's perfect. I could just
Which
see
also
George
means-
screwing with all of us.
Yeah, the sword of the morning, isn't that Lightbringer? Light comes with the dawn.
Yes, and again, when George, that's the only family in this book, A Game of Thrones, that they talk about that we don't really meet, other than maybe John Aaron, the Aarons, but they bring up the Danes a lot more than any other house, other than the major houses in the story of this
Yeah.
book. So
And what
that,
do we know about them? Where's their chapter?
mhm. Exactly, we know nothing. A hearsay. Everything is stories. Yeah, the sword is an earned title. They don't always have a sword of the morning.
It's
You
also
have,
the only house that has ties to old Valyria, like the Targaryens.
see, I
because-
swear I thought they were first men, man. I'm gonna look that up real quick. Please go on.
Yeah, they're from the what is it, the Kingdom of the Dawn or whatever it was.
Yeah, Great Empire of the Dawn.
Yeah,
Oh well, they also Dane, but spelt differently, is also a Sumerian word for dawn, for the beginning of the day. So sword dawn. I mean,
Mm.
yeah.
Noble.
so their name is literally the name of the sword,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing that defeats darkness, dawn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. House Dane is one of the most ancient houses in the Seven Kingdoms, claiming, oh shit, they claiming first man ancestry dating back 10,000 years to the dawn of days. But that doesn't mean they actually are.
No,
I like how that's worded. That it's claiming first man ancestry. They probably aren't. You have a valid point there, man. I never thought of that. But if they were involved in the first fight, I mean, it's just hard to think dating back their ancestry dating back 10,000 years to the dawn of days. So they have been in Westeros long enough to have fought in the first long night.
yeah.
But they're claiming a first man isn't solidified like the Starks are of first man blood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've never read it that way before.
Something's up with House Dane.
Yeah, man.
They keep finding interesting things because I mean, they built their castle from stone that they discovered that had magical powers. Now they have a
Right.
sword
Right.
possibly has magical powers. It's interesting.
Well, yeah. I mean,
They have more stuff than the other houses.
Mm-hmm.
they do. I mean, they're considered stony. You know, they're the not the sand, but Stony Dorn, which is more like a first man family. Like they
Stony
follow, huh?
Stony Sept.
Stony Sept.
That's in that area, isn't it?
Could be. I can't think off the top of my head. You're probably right though.
Oh yeah, and Jane points out purple eyes.
Yeah. I think Jane could be right with the mixed blood thing. They may be the Song of Ice and Fire, and it's not John or Danny.
Jane would know. He's a bastard.
The bastards. Kirsty, ghost grass. Storks are taller than men, pale as milk glass. Contains souls of damned and kills all other grass. Dawn contains a fallen Dane damned soul. Oh shit.
Interesting.
That's interesting. I don't even know where you got that one. Ghost glass, but I like
the soul of Nissa.
Mm-hmm. She might have been a Dane. Azor Ahai could have been, or she could have been the first men, and Azor Ahai could have been from the Great Empire of the Dawn giving you your Valerian-ish blood. That could be what it is. I don't know. This is exciting. I love talking about this shit. But we're almost done. So why don't we finish this and then we can.
I'm holding the book. It's fucking heavy.
I am so...
I'm getting like a serious bicep going on.
All right, let's the watchers move forward together as the signal has been had been given.
I did.
Did
Okay,
we read that part? I'm sorry.
I'll just read it again.
Okay.
The watchers moved forward together as if some signal had been given. The swords rose and fell. It was all in a deathly silence. It was cold butchery. The pale blade sliced through ringmail as if it were silk. Will closed his eyes. Far beneath him, he heard their voices and laughter, sharp as icicle. So they're actually reveling in the butchery.
Yeah.
Because they hate life.
Yes,
We
they
know
do.
that from late. When he found the courage to look again, a long time had passed, and the ridge below was empty. He stayed in the tree, scarce daring to breathe, while the moon crept below across the black sky. Finally, his muscles cramping and his fingers numb with cold, he climbed down. Royce's body lay face down in the snow, one arm outflung. The thick sable cloak had been slashed in a dozen places. Lying dead like that, you saw how young he was, a boy. He found what was left of the sword a few feet away, the end splintered and twisted like a tree struck by lightning. It means it exploded.
Mm-hmm.
Will knelt, looked around warily, and snatched it up. The broken sword would be his proof. Garrett would know what to make of it, and if not him, then surely that old bear Mormont or Maester Aemon. Would Garrett still be waiting with the horses? He had to hurry. Will rose. Sir Waymar Royce stood over him. His fine clothes were a tatter, his face a ruin, a shard from his sword transfixed in the blind white pupil of his left eye.
Left eye.
The right eye was open. The pupil burned blue. It saw. The broken sword fell from nerveless fingers. Will closed his eyes to pray. Long, elegant hands brushed his cheek, then tightened around his throat. They were gloved in the finest moleskin and sticky with blood, yet the touch was icy cold.
I forgot it was Will who died, not Garrett.
Yeah, so what the fuck was Garrett doing?
Yeah,
You
like
know,
did
he
he?
must have been watching too, but left eye missing, just like
Yeah.
Bloodraven.
Yeah, and just like isn't also God, the pirate, isn't his left eye missing too?
Yeah, you're on.
Euron, thank you. Jeez, I froze
Yeah.
there for a second. This is great. Jane throws out ghost grass is a type of vegetation that exists. Okay, yeah, on the continent of Essos, it is found in the Shadowlands beyond Ashai. Ghost grass is pale in color and glows in the moonlight. Dothraki believe that one day it'll cover everything, and that is the way the world will end.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Rereading the way the others act, it's so different from the show, because with the very exception of one of the last episodes where they had the Night King smile, there was absolutely no emotion
Right.
out
Right.
of
What up, Matt?
out of them
Sorry.
at all.
Right.
So we're here. I mean, we're talking about just the beginnings of the first book, and there's already emotion and
Haunting, everything.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think,
that's a good point.
To me, it makes them more. If you want to look at it in terms of good and evil, it makes them more evil. If they're just some sort of mindless creatures that are just set out to kill, that's just the way that they are. But if
they're
they're
not.
taking active pleasure in it,
Yeah.
and not only that, they're laughing after the fact and everything like that, and during it,
They toy with them.
Well, it goes to show, like, you don't laugh at a joke that you write yourself. There's no hive mind there. They're all individuals.
Yeah.
By that.
The others are are acting like nobles, right?
Yeah.
Also, they do work as a military unit because the other ones stand back,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and they obviously have skills with the sword.
Right. Yeah, it's very interesting.
You know when Melisandre talks about the Great Other,
Yes.
I think that's the leader of the others. I think it
Yeah.
really is that simple.
Yeah. It has to be something tangible in a way. I always assumed the Great Other was like the original Weirwood, but it could easily be the leader of the others. I don't know, because the Great Other would be like the Great John. The Great Other, it's a title.
What if that's the one who's been warging into
Brand's dreams.
no, Ghost, because Ghost has been used because
Mm,
a few times John can't warg into him or sense him.
right.
And we know from Baroness Sixskin that means that you know an animal that has been used for warging is like a wide open door for other wargs,
Right.
right? So I'm thinking whoever did that, right, might be inside Ghost when John
Mm-hmm.
gets stabbed, and then takes John's body afterwards, because it
Hmm.
could be that that the white that got sent through the wall that went for the sword,
Mm-hmm.
someone was warging into that one because the whites aren't that clever.
But can't the dog or the wolf fight the other person coming in? Like, Verimir makes sure to take the old dog, and wanted to kill the other guy to get the younger dog because he knew he couldn't, because he was alive. Like, I thought there was, like, the animal has to be almost willing to allow a
No,
second. Okay, maybe I read.
no.
Well, we'll get to that
Not
too.
talking in truth.
Huh?
Look at what happens to Hodor when he resists.
Right.
And warging into a human is way more difficult.
Mm-hmm. Bran is way more powerful too. I'm trying to see if anyone's gotten the picture of them right.
Well, what about the picture you used for your thumbnail from the wiki?
Pretty awesome, isn't it? I don't
I
remember.
I did animate that picture too.
Did you really? Oh my god, that is freaking awesome, dude.
That is so cool.
Oh, that's great. And I did give props to the artist. Um, just so no one attacks me. Yeah, so I wonder, there's a lot of stuff we caught that I didn't think about the first, like that one sentence where it's like tree, wind, tree. Where was that one? That was like the
Yeah,
perfect line.
if you carve a poem into the trunk of that tree, it'll be a poetry.
Ah, so this is what's great about these books too. We get all this mythical, magical stuff in the prologue, and then we don't see any of it until Danny's last chapter. You know what I mean? Like, is it even Danny's, or is it what's his name's Moramont's last chapter? One of their last chapters is where we see some dragons. This book sets you up to make you think it's going to be all fantasy and everything, and the next thing you know, you're dealing with a drunken king, is you know brother
His whole
effing,
wife.
yeah, right there it is. Wind, tree, wolf, owl. That's a little later. I don't know, man. It's great. It's freaking awesome. Did I ask for money? I don't know if I asked for money. Did I? I don't think I did. Oh, maybe my automatic thing did. But what final thoughts on this, and then we'll close it up. What do you guys think? Anything
Yeah, I
that
don't think you have any money either.
I have none. It's such a good introduction to the world that George is creating that you don't see for quite a few books. If that. You know what I mean?
I think we're making it better than it actually is, and I'm okay with that. By
What do you
with
I
all
think
the
it's
different
great.
theories and I don't think
Oh,
it's
right.
anywhere as in depth as we like to make it out to be, but that's okay with me.
Oh, I don't know about that, man. Like, there is a reason Waymore Royce looks almost exactly like Jon. You know what I mean? Like, he planned for us to catch that.
No, I definitely agree with that. But I also, on the other side, go, well, if everything we theorize is true, there's no way this is wrapping up in 2 more books.
I've been wondering that too. I mean, Marine itself, like, how are you going to get out of Marine? Like, she just has to become like Fire and Blood. She has to become like a true Targaryen and just get back there, destroy everything, and then take her people and leave.
Yeah.
Like, because that's the only way you're going to close that up quickly.
Yeah.
What if she? Well, here's the thing. What if she never leaves? We're all assuming that she's gonna get across to Westeros, like into King's Landing. I think Jon Snow is going to be dead, and we never hear from him again. Dany's stuck over there, and
so
then the world
it
just
ends
gets
up
destroyed
being like
because no one could communicate together. And at the end of the day, the only ones that survive are the dragons.
What were you going to say, Tina?
I was just kind of wondering, is it do the folks that end up invading Westeros on dragons, are they what's his face with the dragon binding horn and Fagon?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
What if the ones that end up invading Westeros on dragons are actually Fagon? Maybe he gets
young Griff.
Young Griff, thank you. He gets a dragon. And then what if what's his face? The Greyjoy that has the dragon binding horn.
Right. Well, how would Fagon get it? I see the dragon binding horn one.
If he's truly a Targaryen, maybe he's able to claim one because there's 2
others.
Dragons left, right?
Yeah,
if we assume the Drogon's with Dany somewhere in the middle of nowhere, the other 2 are still available.
No, that's a good point. Going back to what Grant said, there's many quotes, but he says it definitely in a video where he talks about, and I think Stig has brought this up multiple times. George talks about Tolkien and the return of Gandalf the White, how that kind of ruined the death of Gandalf the Grey. So I could see him not bringing Jon back. Everyone's just planning on Jon coming back
because Catelyn is not herself when she comes back.
Right.
No.
Right.
No, she's actually tolerable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So he can't be himself coming back. I mean, really, if he's going to stick to what he has pretty much stamped that he doesn't like the return of people coming back. Like everyone that has died maybe has come back different.
That was not exactly what he said.
Well, okay. So how did he word it? You remember?
He was talking about how when he was 13 years old and read The Lord of the Rings, how the death of Gandalf affected him as a reader. It was like, oh shit, Gandalf's dead, right? Now all bets are off. Everyone's unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said when Gandalf returned, it nullified the impact he had from the character's death.
Right.
So it wasn't the fact that he came back; it was just the impact wiped away. And then he's kind of, when he returns, he's also a bit new and improved. So
he's
basically just talking about how he felt as a reader.
As a reader, not a writer.
He wasn't saying that Tolkien did anything wrong.
Right.
that's the clickbait headlines.
I like it. Okay, thank you for like saying that because I went with the clickbait.
Yeah, they tend to do that, and then people just read the headlines,
yeah,
and then people lose their mind. Oh yeah, George Martin's criticizing Tolkien and saying he got it wrong. Like,
right.
no,
I like what Kirsty's saying here. If you really like, Howlin' Reed is wins in the reeds trees wordplay, and plays into wolves as well as Howland has howled an owl in the name, and an owl hoots in the prologue too with the wolf howling. So I just kind of want to see. So is a reed warging a owl? Is that what you're saying? And the wolf is being warged like that. I mean, Howlin' Reed is a mystery. Like the book almost can't have him come even in the next book. It would have to be at the end because he has the answers to everything. It's almost like you get so much. He's like
You're
an
saying
info dump.
He'll be an epilogue of Winds of Winter or the prologue of the last book.
Okay, because I know he said there will be no new. You're right, because there's no new POV chapters. So it would have to, if it's going to be from his point of view, it would have to be a prologue or epilogue. Yeah. So that is genuinely something that could happen. I know that I really enjoyed this. I can't wait to next week when we do the epilogue of Game of Thrones, because I can't even remember what it is. And that makes me happy. Reed is a no. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and tell me?
No, I don't know. I'm just saying, do you want me to?
Reed may have married a Dane.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Reed may have married a Dane, but I don't think he is a Dane. I think a Shara Dane might be there somewhere in a moving castle in the marsh. Howlin' Reed is like the owl and the wolf in that he holds the answers. Yeah. I mean, the owl holds the answer. Oh, what? I think Peter Baelish is Howlin' Reed. Save that for next week. I want to know why. Or put it in the, you know what?
No,
put in the comments. I would love to.
Ned would have recognized him.
Oh, true. Unless he's a faceless man. Baelish could be a faceless man. Bravos. You know, the whole.
No. Peter Baelish was around when Howlin' Reed was with Ned.
Yeah. No, I know that. But where does he go right after everything that happens? Do we know he ends up maybe in the Fingers or something like that? Right? Is there any time gap where he's missing? Because his family is from Bravos. So I always wondered if there's a connection with the faceless man and him. Like maybe he's not, he's probably not a faceless man, but he definitely has connection too, I believe. At least the bank of Bravos, he definitely has a connection with them.
Sure.
Yeah, but I do. What is the epilogue, Sir Gregory McGrant?
Oh no, sorry. As soon as you said the Howlin' Reed thing, I just went down a rabbit hole. I've actually had that. I actually have that in a list of things that someone said to me, and I'm just looking at the notes that I've got.
Yeah, I'm not even going to read your next part. What he is like, not just a close Stark ally, maybe the closest ally to Ned Stark, and does nothing when his family comes under attack, except send his son and daughter to go on a mission with a broken brand. So he knows something we all don't. Jon Snow's parentage due to his involvement. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's read that again. Howlin' Reed's mystery. Howlin' Reed is one of the most mysterious characters in the series. He is the head of House Reed, a close Stark ally, and one of the few people alive who knows the truth about Jon Snow's parentage. Due to his involvement of the Tower of Joy, Howlin' has remained secluded in the swamps of the Neck, and his isolation raises question about his motivations. So the Reeds are my people. Yeah, what is his motivation? You know, like not to send warriors to help them keep Kate Molan.
No, but he is doing the guerrilla warfare.
Right, but Moat Cailin is right in the one area through the swamps you can get into the north.
Because, yeah, well, it also could go to part of the reason why Littlefinger knows so much. He knows more than he should.
Mhm.
And I don't think it's just because everyone talks to whores. I don't think it's something that simple.
True. But my question then, yeah, if Howland Reed has even guerrilla warfare, you have people going through your neck to attack your one of your closest friends' house after his death, and you don't have people popping out of nowhere shooting blow darts trying to pick people off.
Well, that's happened
Mm.
when with I think it's Ramsey who said it, that some of his men get killed when
Craigenman.
Cranag men. That's how
Craigenman.
one reads people.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you do have.
Sorry, I had this in my notes, and I'm not 100% sure if this is even correct or where I
All
got
right, read
the
it, my
information
friend.
from.
You read it this time.
So it says, Howland Reed is being described as a master of the art of disguise, capable of blending in with different groups. If he wanted to influence events in the Seven Kingdoms, from disguising within himself as Littlefinger, could be a way of gaining immense power and control, positioning to center himself in the middle of the political intrigue. Am I right with? I don't know why I would have written that if that wasn't true about him being a master of disguise. I don't know where I've got that from.
Oh well, Varys seems to be the disguise guy.
Yeah. I don't remember them ever explaining him to be a disguise guy, but we do know that he's one of the few people that have been to the Isle of Faces, and he spent months there. And
Yeah, maybe that's where I got it from.
Well, right after that, that's where he meets Ned. Now,
yeah,
he has to be saved by Lyanna Stark, most likely from a couple of squires. So maybe not like disguises, but he disguises himself as this weak, Craigon man or whatever, how you say it, to get introduced to the Starks. Because all of a sudden they take him in like, oh, he's no threat. You know what I mean? Like it's almost too perfect. I mean, he comes from the Isle of Faces. He's a son at the time of a lord. So he's had training in fighting since he was little, yet he can't defend himself against two squires at on the way to the tourney
the tournament at Harrenhal.
Yeah, it makes that never made sense to me. It's like he set that up. Peter Baelish has green-gray eyes.
Look into the Knights of the Laughing Tree. I should be better with my note taking. What the fuck is the Knights of the Laughing Tree?
That is a disguised knight that took part in the tourney, which many people believe was Lyanna Stark.
Yeah.
Dressed in armor. That and the shield had the laughing tree on it. That somebody ends up with, right?
I believe so. And the armor was like mismatched. Like somebody was like, "Oh, I gotta fight tomorrow," and like
let's throw this stuff together. Yeah,
exactly.
I do like that. Peter Baelish has green-gray eyes, and Pete, Mossy Pete, he's a little like Howland too. Damn, that's good. Howland is a backstabber in the show.
Peter was described as tall and thing, and I don't think Howland ever was.
Right. Well, Peter's not described as tall.
No.
He's little. I mean, when Brandon Stark fights him, he makes him
thin. I mean, like not like he's like a string bean.
Yeah, and the Reeds are all like gangly, small guys. That's how they're described. Damn, there's a lot there. Okay, Kirsty, I don't think he is Peter, but if you are right, I backed you 100% on that one. And Howland Reed is a backstabber in the show, and the only thing we hear is if it were not for Howland Reed, Ned wouldn't have survived. Not that someone killed Arthur Dayne, not that Arthur Dayne was murdered or slain in battle, just that he stopped the fight somehow or helped Ned somehow.
He used his words.
I think he had some kind of information that nobody would think he had.
Hmm.
He learned it at the Isle of Faces.
Yeah,
He
I
had seen
completely
like
agree.
something in the future, and then he
Something in the
told
future. Yep.
Arthur Dane or something,
Hmm.
like don't kill Ned or something. He's the
And
dad of the chosen one, or something.
he probably also had something with Arthur from his past to prove that he knows things. You know what I mean? Because the
Don't
Weirwoods
kill Ned.
know
He's
it
gonna
all.
lose his head later.
I'm
It's
just
very
saying.
Yeah.
important to season 1.
And don't forget Howland Reed's castle moves. You know, there's magic involved. He is
Well,
not just this
that's what
little.
they claim.
They claim it.
Yeah.
Do you
But-
think Helen helped him take down the tower?
I still don't know if they took down that tower. If they did, it had to be with magic. No way you're ripping that thing down by hand.
Oh yeah, you can do that in a day or two.
Yeah, like what do they use for mortar? I mean, come on, it's just unless it's
What?
like the
What if
They use joy. It's in the name of the tower.
Have you noticed that the Crannogmen fight the same way as the Children of the Forest?
Yep.
I think they have Children of the Forest blood.
I think so too. And maybe they can cause a little bit of an earthquake and stuff, kind of like the Children of the Forest do. And maybe
Mm.
that's why things change in the neck.
Oh,
So you think it might not? Okay, it could
I
have
don't know.
been them instead of the children, and that's why it didn't.
No,
It didn't break?
It's why his castle seemed to move.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But
I love
I don't know.
this.
They do seem to fight guerrilla like the Children of the Forest, though.
Right. Okay, I'm just gonna read some of this because it is cool. We read the Pete Moss part. Night of the Laughing Tree, Mocking Tree. It was Howland Reed, aka Peter. Howland was short. Craigenman are short. Night of the Laughing Tree has mismatched armor, just like Peter had mismatched armor dueling Brandon. Also, Howland wears a bronze shirt. If they have Children of the Forest blood, that could be a callback to their brown bronze skin. Is very small. Yep. Peter had been slight and short for his age as a boy, and nearing his 30s, he is still a short man of slender build. Yeah, Arthur's same. He is alive. Guys, we'll talk about more of this next week. I got to get some sleep because I have a 10-hour shift tomorrow. So got to be up before 4. Last thoughts, anyone? That's so cool. It's moving in the background.
Yeah, I don't think Peter Baelish is Howland Reed, because Ned would have known, and Howland Reed would have said something to Ned.
Yeah, I have a feeling you're right, but I
Plus,
love
Howland Reed wouldn't have supported the Lannisters when they captured Ned. You know, when all of a sudden
He
Joffrey's
would
sitting on the
keep his
throne.
disguise up.
right because he knew Ned wasn't as important as Bran. You never know. It's kind of neat to think about. It's a good thought process game thing. Anyways,
It actually fits more with Varys being Howland Reed.
yeah, true.
But
Well,
I
you
think
think a guy that's a
egg.
master of disguise, he's a good actor. He all of his motivations fit, yeah, but he's not bald, so it can't work.
Because Varys is egg. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Had a good time. Really do have to get going though. What was I going to say? Oh, please, guys, when you're done, like and come back and comment when this stream is over on YouTube. If you're on Rumble, thank you very much. We're getting closer every week, like one sub or follower every week. We're going to get to 500 soon over there. I appreciate everybody. Any last words? Anybody need to plug anything?
You'll hit 100,000 subs on Rumble the same day that the book comes out.
Aww.
That's cruel, dude. Good night, everybody. That was cruel.
Good night.
You bastard. Sorry, Machismo, 32 months, and you end it when I get here. Yeah, you should have came earlier, man. And you could have came on. You're in the chat or the DM. Love you,
You
buddy.
failed.
Did.
Failed as a friend and failed as a human being.
Did. Matt, oh, you just became a sponsor again. Oh, Stream Elements don't lie. But thank you very much. And if anybody else wants to be a member,
That's what
please.
it means when you resubscribe each month.
I know. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for doing that. And promise me, Ned is connected to Littlefinger's ancient China 16th century pink sweater. I'm reading all this later. I love you guys. Everybody be good. See you guys next Tuesday. Hopefully Saturday we'll have a aluminum spork talking some crazy conspiracies. Peace.
Well, I mean, technically, we are talking crazy conspiracies at the moment.
Isn't that great? But those will be real world ones.
I think these are more important than here.
It could be. I don't know. This one's so old. Love it. Good night, everybody.